Hey guys, Lewis here. I got a bit of a different video format for you guys today. Hopefully you guys can hear me alright. I'm using a different setup. I'm at my cousin's house recording this right now. The reason why I'm at my cousin's place recording this video is because I'm currently putting together my new rig right now. I'm taking my old rig apart, salvaging what I can, and putting in a bunch of new components. I got a new SSD, I upgraded my NVIDIA card, and there's just so much I'm doing right now with my new rig. So for the last week and a half, I have not been able to record anything on my home rig. So pretty much everything you've seen up till now has been a backlog video that I've already preloaded onto YouTube just in case if I ever had issues with my rig. So like I said, I haven't been able to record for the last week and a half, and that may be the case for the next week and a half, so we'll still be having backlog videos. This is the most recent recording I've been able to do because Rick was kind enough to let me use his equipment. And so I've just, downloaded XCOM 2 on here so I can record it a bit, because this video is going to be a update vlog sort of, as well as a XCOM 2 mod talk video. So pretty much the update is already taken care of here. I just updated you guys that I'm putting my new computer together, so I won't be able to record on that for a while until roughly the 25th to 26th when I get the rest of my parts. So the reason why I'm putting a new new rig together is because I've been starting to run it down a little bit. It's starting to see a little bit of wear and tear. It's slowing down on various things, and I think it's time that I give it a little upgrade boost. And so that's pretty much the whole reason behind it. Also, I want to be able to produce better quality, and I've noticed that because of with age on my rig, it's starting to affect some of my applications. Rendering, for example, has been a huge nightmare for me. It used to never do that now, but I think it has something to do with my hardware starting to age a bit. And once I get my new setup going, I'll have to transfer all my software over there, my recording software, my editing software, all my usual stuff. I gotta reinstall Steam, reinstall the games and whatnot, and make all the necessary transfers that I need to the new setup. So by doing this, hopefully I will be able to increase the quality of the content I am able to create, as well as boost my own performance on gaming and all sorts of other things. And I'll probably use my old rig as more of a work computer and editing computer. So because of that, on the topic of XCOM 2 in regards to my new rig, I've noticed while I was playing through it, it's not very fluid. It's kind of choppy, and as most of you know, I really love to immerse myself into the game, and it's hard to immerse myself when I'm noticing the game either being being very choppy, it's being slow, there's delays, loading screens, for example. Like a loading screen that would normally take me like maybe 2-3 minutes is now taking like 10 minutes. That's insane. This isn't Mass Effect Citadel where you're just sitting in the elevators riding it up and down all day. But hopefully with this I will be able to create new content and better content at that point. I'm hoping to push it up to 1080 60p if I can, but for the most part that will have to be another week and a half or so before I can finally get everything all set up and make sure everything's running properly. So that's pretty much the update portion of this video. Moving on to the other part of the video, we're going to do a little bit of a XCOM 2 mod talk. Now this is going to be all things related to the series that I'm going to be doing, which by the way, like I said, I have not been able to record, so I've been having an itch to record for quite a while now, so it's really nice to get recording again. So if I sound overexcited, that's pretty much why. Because I've been just relying on my backlog videos that I've already had preloaded onto YouTube just in case if something happened. So with XCOM 2, you all know that I'm doing a XCOM 2 viewer squads, basically. Anybody who you know, any of my friends or family that wants to be a part of the squads, the viewers who want to be a part of squads or VIPs and whatnot. We're all putting you all in. I got quite a lot of people. I started up a new game on Rick's computer here just to show you a little bit of some of the mods that I will be using for the series. Before we get into that though, let's start off with a little bit of a start. For those of you who are new to modding in general, there's a few key things you always need to remember when it comes to modding. And the two main things that you really do need to remember is always have a clean save file. Now what I mean by that is like make a copy of a save file of the game that you are currently playing if you can do so. Make a copy of that just in case. That is called a clean save file. It's a file that's not being using a mod of some sort. Let's say you saw a mod that you really like. You installed the mod and now you know you've played with it for a while, but you feel like the mod isn't to your liking. You decide to uninstall the mod. With certain games, some games when you save a mod, it leaves a logic file behind, basically. Like the assets from that mod is still within the game system. So without that mod, you can't really play that save file properly now. It may cause bugs, it may break the game, you may not even be able to load in at all. The same can be said for XCOM 2. Certain mods on here you have to have in order to play a save file if you've been playing with that mod. So always keep a save file that's clean and ready to go just in case. And another thing is like don't go crazy with the mods. Don't download every mod that you see. That's gonna lead to mod bloating. It's gonna cause a lot of scripts to start piling up. It's gonna cause stress on the system and the game itself, slowing it down, maybe you're breaking it, causing glitches. Maybe you have mods that are conflicting with one another, and all sorts of bad things can happen. So moderation, everybody. And that's not supposed to be a pun because we're talking about mods. Anyway, for those of you who are familiar with modding via either Nexus or Steam or other methods, you've probably already know this and you've probably been rolling your eyes like, oh yes, we know, Lewis, move on with the video. And it's like, okay, I'm moving on. Anyway, so let's get into the meat of the video now. So yeah, so that'll be something I'll explain in a bit. So I've downloaded a couple of mods, some of them as suggestions from some of you guys, most of them coming from my buddy Mike and my cousin Rick. Rick's right over there across the room from me. He's waving right now and he said hi. Don't know if the mic caught that or not, but yeah, Rick's helping me out right now. He's actually play testing something for me right now, so but we'll talk about that in just a little bit. So the first mod I would like to talk about is Capnbubs accessory packs. Now, for the most part, these are pretty much cosmetic soldier customizations, and I gotta say, Capnbubs is looking real great. He's making some cool stuff. So I'll go ahead and give you some examples. So some of the items that are included in his accessory packs include the field beret right here and the dress beret. And I really like the berets here because it really goes well for the whole idea. Like, I have squad leaders per squad, you know, like Alpha squad leader is John, Mike's the squad leader for Bravo, and so on and so forth. So I really like the idea of having a a dress beret, just showing like these guys are the officers, they mean business. But aside from the beret though, there's some other accessories. Like some of you may recognize this setup from Enemy Within. You got the baseball cap with the headset. I'm kind of surprised they didn't bring some of the old customization options that were available, like the Firebrand helmet from XCOM Enemy Within. And you got other stuff like your headset with a backwards ball cap. You got ballistic goggles you can wear on your forehead, I should say, not forehat. And you got other stuff too, and it's pretty cool what he's added. So those are just the hat portion of his mod though. He's added a few upper face props and I believe one lower face prop, and he added a pair of ballistic goggles, either a dark version or a clear version if you want to see your soldier's eyes. For the lower face prop, he's added a tack mask, which I'm surprised didn't come with vanilla XCOM customization because it looks really cool and I love the idea of it. It looks really great. You want to build like a special ops team and make them look like a Delta Force or something of the sort, and it looks really great. So that's pretty much Capnbubs in a nutshell right there. But let's move on to some of the other mods that I have. The first set of mods I'm going to be referring to is pretty much all soldier customization based. There are a few other stuff, but I'll get to that later on in the video. So let's move on back to the hats here. The next mod I have installed is called Free the Hood. Basically, it removes the restrictions on certain hats and items that would normally disable the lower face prop or upper face prop, so you can't use them. So for example, let's go ahead and put on the Delta 2 helmet right here. Normally, if I equip this, that would mean I can't have an upper face prop, but with the Free the Hood, it's allowing me to put some, I can wear some sports sunglasses underneath it and all sorts of things. Keep in mind, though, that some of these items will clip just because of the nature of how it's designed. Like, for example, let's switch this to, let's switch this to the Recon. No, not the Recon. Let's switch this to the ski mask, for example. Let's say I want to add attack mask for whatever reason. There's a little bit of clipping issues right there, right around the nose right there. I mean, you could say it's a customization design, but it looks a little odd. But, I really like the idea of Free the Hood because it doesn't limit you. Like, let's say I want to have sunglasses with a guy who's wearing a ski mask with a tack mask. It's like, now that's an option now. Let's give him, some hippie sunglasses. There you go. Looks pretty awesome. Looks unique, to say the least. Aside from that, though, let's move away from the Free the Hood, which basically just removes restrictions for customization. You got things like custom face paint. Now, the face paint in vanilla XCOM 2 was pretty limited. I mean, it would probably help if I turned off the ski mask and all of that first. Like I said, I'm just really excited to be recording again. I'll go ahead and remove all these so that I can show this off a little better with the face paint. So, with the face paint, vanilla face paint was pretty limited. They were really nice. So you had things like your Arid, your eye black, your sharpshooter, your skull. But the custom face paint mod adds quite a few more options. So you got things like the Priss right here, the Warden, which is pretty cool. You got Carry, very bloody, I believe it looks. That's what it reminds me of, the rugby look. I'm kind of surprised that this face paint wasn't a vanilla option to begin with, but we have it now. So you got I don't even know how to pronounce that. Furiosa, something like that. You got the Alita, is pretty cool. The Bowie is awesome. You got eyeliner if you so choose. You got Braveheart. Yes, Braveheart. You got a collar face paint. Well, it's not really face paint, but it's on your neck at least. And the template. This one's kind of my favorite because it's just so bizarre. Just have your soldiers running around like this. That'd be awesome. So that's pretty much the custom face paints mod in a nutshell right there. So let's move on to a somewhat minor mod. It's very limited, but I thought it was really cool, and I saw it on the Steam Workshop, and I had to have it because I really love it. I use a combination of both Nexus and Steam Workshop. Let me try to find one that works here. There we go. That should work. And that should be the left arm. So this is a tattoo mod, and it only adds, well, technically it adds 2 tattoos for both arms, but this is called the Death from Above. It's called the Starship Troopers tattoo, and anybody, once again, I didn't notice that. Should probably change the color so that it's easier to see. Let's just change it to a dark black or something of the sort. There we go. So we got the Death from Above tattoo from Starship Troopers. Now, I absolutely love that because I loved Starship Troopers. I loved that movie when I was watching it as a kid, and I saw the mod and was like, I had to have it. Even it's simple, but it's great. Moving away from things like tattoos, though, we got things like the Ravenmores digital Camo Pack, which adds a couple more armor and weapon patterns on top of the options that we already have. So, for example, it adds the XCOM medic pattern right there, which is pretty cool. You can instantly spot your guy if he's a medic. He's got medic symbols all over him. You got the Reddit camouflage right there. You got stars and stripes with there, which is pretty cool. You got a Hex and Steel, kind of similar to Hex, but it's a little more contrasting. And with Skull Vigil, it's pretty much like the XCOM medic one, but with skulls, and that's really nice. And like I said, this can be applied to the weapon as well, and it's very nice. But while we're on the subject of camo patterns, though, I also downloaded military camouflage patterns because I did like the, I like the classic, I like the digital patterns, but I felt like there was lacking in terms of nationality. Like, we are a multinational resistance force, and yet there's very few patterns that represent that. So I downloaded the military camouflage patterns, which includes a bunch of international military camouflage patterns here. Like, you got Swedish, German, US, Canadian, Russian, Finnish, Danish, UK, Australian, Russian amoeba, French lizard, which looks pretty cool, quite honestly, the Egyptian thunderbolt, Russian again, Swedish barracuda, Norwegian, UK Berlin Brigade, French Central Europe, US Tiger Pat. And I thought these were pretty awesome, and it does really nice to add on to the feel of this is a multinational force. And on the subject of a multinational force, it felt a little strange that while they gave us the option to choose our nationality flag patch now, there was quite a few countries missing. It's probably best if I don't have it on a grenadier because the grenade launcher is actually blocking the patch a little bit. Let me switch to somebody else here. Is that a little better? That's better. Alright, so as you all know, we can change the flag patch now, which is in itself is a pretty big deal, but there was quite a few countries that were missing, and by quite a few I mean a lot. So with the more nations mod, it pretty much does what it says. It adds a lot more nations. It adds a bunch of flag patches to the list here. I mean, look at all the options we have here. I mean, it's quite crazy. I mean, North Korea is in here. Let's someone make a custom Kim Jong-un and put him out on the field to fight aliens. We got Switzerland, which surprisingly I don't think was in the game. You got stuff like Vietnam, for example, which is like, I'm Vietnamese, but I was born in the US, yes, but there wasn't a Vietnamese flag patch, so I was kind of disappointed by that. And with this mod, I'm quite happy with that because now I have a Vietnamese flag patch, which is cool. And that's very cool and all, having all this customization, but how does it all fit in with the XCOM 2 squads, getting everybody in? Well, what I did before that, and this goes a little bit back to the whole be careful with modding, always make backups. This goes back to me with the INI file. So I do a little bit of INI file tweaking now and then with XCOM 2, just smoothing out any bugs that I find. Maybe there's like a certain thing that really annoys me, so I kind of like either shorten it up or eliminate it altogether. For example, with the character pool, you can edit the INI file so that you can set it that it only draws, like the barracks and the recruiting system will only draw from the character pool until it runs out. So what it basically means is anybody I customize in my character pool will just show up in my barracks only until I've run out of people in the character pool before it reverts back to the randomly generated soldiers. So for example here, I've set it so that the initial starting barracks soldiers are all random, but I also have a chance to find the soldiers I made in the character pool within the recruiting section. As you can see here, like Brad, you can see Brad here. You can see my cousin Rick. Hey Rick, look, I found you already. So you got people, you could put people in there too. But that made me think about it a little more. I had an issue with this because it's you have to
crew to stay away from the Advent meat rations. We still don't know what they're putting in that stuff.
Thank you for interrupting me, Bradford. This is just like old times already with Enemy Within. Anyway, so as I was saying, I thought about it a little bit. The initial plan I had when it came to character pool squads was to have, just have it character pool only, so that I would only get people that I made from the character pool, whether it be VIPs or soldiers. So like the initial group would be all character pool, all the recruit soldiers you could recruit would be character pool, all the rewards were either soldiers or VIPs you made in the character pool. But there was a problem with that. One, if I went with the recruiting option, that would mean I have to spend supplies on to get the soldier in order to recruit them. With the rewarding wow, I can't speak English all of a sudden. With the rewarding method, sometimes they reward you a soldier, but don't give it a specific class that you set it to. And like I said, the character pool doesn't remember the class of soldier that you give it. So for example, let's say I had Rick as a grenadier in my character pool, and then I found him as a reward. Now he's a specialist. Well, I can't do anything about that now because he came like that. So what I did was I disabled the reward thing so that it would just stay with VIPs only, and the soldiers would have to be customized by myself, and that would mean I would have to customize each soldier once I have them in the barracks, which is a very tedious thing. But not anymore with this particular mod, and it's called Load from Character Pool. Now this is a very useful mod, and I really love it. So for example, let's say I want to pull Corey in because, you know, part of the XCOM 2 canon for the story I have is that Charlie's squad was, you know, really hard hit in the invasion when headquarters was attacked, and Corey and Kathy were the only ones to survive, but now Corey is the squad leader for Charlie's squad. So his story is basically he's still with XCOM after 20 years, and he's been training up the new Charlie squad as well as the new squads and helping them prepare for all the fights ahead. So let's say I want to do that. So Corey was a sniper, so let's go ahead and add him. He wasn't in the recruiting list, and that's the bad part of the character pool. It's all random, so you have to put out the time to hopefully find the soldier that you made. With the load from character pool, it's much simpler than that. Well, all you have to do is once you have it installed, all you have to do is change the first name and the last name. And what it will do then, the mod will just simply search for that character's name in the character pool and then import all the customizations over to your barracks immediately. And what they've added was a button at the bottom of the customization screen here. So as you can see, this is not Corey. He is not a woman. He was not born in Taiwan. So let's go ahead and load from character pool. And there he is. There's Corey right there. I probably should have waited there, but basically it just said import data was successful. However, weapon patterns and weapon colors was not able to transfer because of the class thing, which is strange. They're working on a fix for that because, you know, modding has its own issues. But, you know, it's not perfect, but it helps me a lot. It saves me a lot of time in terms of customization. And some of these things I can fix very easily. The only issues I've noticed with the mod is sometimes it doesn't, you know, keep the standard attitude, but you can change that pretty easily. The weapon color and the weapon pattern may not appear, but that is also pretty easy to fix. So, you know, I could just quite simply do this, and, you know, there we go. We have Corey already. I just need to add on the weapon pattern, and bam, there's Corey right there. There you have it. There's Charlie squad leader right there. And it's simple as that. And I really like that mod because that saves me the time. I don't have to, you know, wait for the RNG to decide to give me somebody I made from the character pool. Now I can have him right here, right now, and it goes along with the canon. And I'll explain the XCOM 2 canon in a little bit. I don't want to take too long with this video. Now, you may have noticed something else during this whole time while I was doing my video. How are a bunch of rookies and squatty have this many customization options? Well, in vanilla XCOM 2, you wouldn't have those options because they would be locked behind a ranked wall. But because of the way I'm doing XCOM 2 squads and how I'm loading characters from the character pool, and let's say Corey, for example, decided, I don't want to have that bandana, I don't want to have a certain hat or something, but I can't get it because he needs to be a certain rank. I would have to tell them, it's like, no, I can't do that, not until you're like a lieutenant or something or like. But with this mod called the Full Character Customization from Start mod, I am able to bypass all of that. It basically just removes all the restrictions on ranking, so you just have all the options available to you right off the bat. For example, like scars. Corey's a bad example to use with scars right here because his face is pretty much completely covered. But now I have all the options of scars here, whereas a squatty would never have this. So, you know, it's very interesting and very nice to have that freedom of customization within the game, so you're not feeling limited. that's pretty much all the, customization aspect. And I guess this is actually a good time to kind of break away from the mod talk a little bit to talk a little bit of my XCOM 2 canon, because some of you have messaged me on Facebook on what is the XCOM 2 canon for me, because some of you have watched the XCOM Enemy Within series, and you all know that I generally had 3 squads, Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie, and now I'm going to have even more because there's a lot more of you guys this time around. The canon, basically, with Corey, for example, I should go in order, really, because it makes more sense. So the canon was, like, during the tail end of the invasion, in regards to XCOM 2 stories, I sent Alpha Squad out on a mission to secure XCOM facilities around the world, satellite relays, interceptor hangars, XCOM archives, etc. And that was the mission of Alpha Squad, to go secure those sites just to have a fallback for XCOM. But Alpha Squad got all split up in the confusion of their mission, so they pretty much all went lone wolf but still continued out on their mission. So they're just out there somewhere, and we had to find them, basically. Obviously, me being the commander of XCOM, I was captured by alien forces and held captive for 20 or so years, I believe, and held in alien captivity. And, with Bravo Squad, actually, Mike had the backstory for it. Let me go ahead and, I'll go ahead and load his character in, just to make it simple here. So let's go ahead. Well, actually, he's not a ranger. He's a grenadier. I'll go ahead and just load him in while I not focus, but organize my thoughts a little bit. Hopefully I don't butcher your name here, Mike. By the way, fair play. If you guys give me your names, more likely than not, I will most likely butcher your names, especially last names. Oh, see? Well, Oh, it's Michael. That's right. Oh, no. See, it's already happening. I'm already butchering names. Alright, there we go. So there's Michael right there. So, as you can see, he has his own little bio, and Mike worked on his bio, part of the story of the XCOM canon a little bit, and it worked really nicely with my canon of what I had happen. So, basically, in the canon from Enemy Within to XCOM 2, what Bravo Squad was doing while Alpha was out on their own mission, Bravo was in charge of the evacuation of XCOM personnel, all the scientists, all the engineers, Dr. Shen, Dr. Valen, Bradford, and all of them, and they were successful, and they managed to get all the refugees into a small town, which they settled in that area. But, however, after a certain time, though, 4 members of the original Bravo Squad eventually went off on their own ways to go find their families and friends to make sure they were safe and okay, which left Mike and Richard alone, which led to them, training new members for Bravo Squads from the residents of their town, as he calls it, Neo Haven here. And, I thought that was really nice, and it's very nice when you guys send me, like, your character bio, because it's really interesting how you like to see it. I've had so many interesting character bios. I've had to edit a few because some were a little too long, so I've had to shorten it, but, they're very cool on how you really get into character, and I really like that. So that's pretty much what happened to Bravo Squad, and eventually, they would all return to XCOM once they hear that XCOM is on the move again. And Charlie Squad, like I mentioned before, was in charge of the defense of HQ when it was attacked by the aliens, and before I was kidnapped by the aliens. Pretty much Charlie Squad took the brunt of the invasion. Not the brunt of the invasion, but the brunt of the attack on headquarters, and lost 4 of its members, leaving only Corey and Kathy. Kathy eventually would, strike off on her own to go find Kyle, who was part of Alpha, and Alpha went missing. And Corey would then take up position as the new squad leader for Charlie, and would train the future resistance fighters, and the new Charlie Squad, the new Delta, new Echo, and even new Gulf Squad. There's starting to be a lot of people wanting to be a part of the squads. So I'm up at G right now. It won't be long before I get another one after that. But, you know, because of that, I really love how you guys get involved in it. And that's pretty much the canon of, you know, what happened to the free squads, how do the new squads come into this. Well, basically, Corey trained all of you who are new. And then we'll eventually find Bravo Squad and Alpha Squad again. And it makes more sense to me, like, with the random generator of finding your character pool soldiers, it doesn't make sense. For example, let's say we found Mike, but we didn't find the rest of the Bravo Squad. And then 2 months later, we found another member of Bravo. That's very slow, and at the same time, most people have their preference of what class they want to be for their soldier. That takes time from the guerrilla tactics school to train them up. I believe it's 5 days to train per class. So, you know, that takes up a lot of time. Not to mention resources as well. I don't know if any of you noticed, but I've edited the INI files so that all recruits cost 0 supplies. That's a huge advantage, and I'm gonna handicap myself because of that. I don't want it to be like I just recruit everyone and then throw everybody at the aliens until we win. No, it's gonna be more like, let's say, you know, we're 2 months in and then we stumble across the town of Neohaven.
Doctor, but what exactly did you do before?
Bradford, why do you have to keep interrupting me?
I'd say we're lucky to have you. Come.
Okay, just gonna skip through all that. There we go. Bradford, stop.
While we prepare for new operations,
he does not stop talking.
We can pass time by scanning at sites like this one. On your order, we'll start our scans on the surrounding area.
How about you just let me finish talking, Bradford? This is like Enemy Within all over again. But like I was saying, though, it takes a lot of time and a lot of resources. So I've knocked the resources down to 0 for recruiting, just so that I can make sure everybody has their own fair time in the episodes. Like, I don't want to be like 10 months into the game and then you're finally seeing your character as a rookie. I don't want that. I mean, if you're showing up as a rookie like 10 months into the game, chances are you are not going to be doing very well. Even though we'll have advanced equipment for you, you're still a rookie. You're lacking a lot of skills that the other soldiers would already have. So my plan is, just because they don't cost supplies, I'm able to recruit a certain amount of soldier, and I'll restrict myself. It's like when I find that, let's say I stumble across Neohaven in my canon. I found Bravo Squad. Mike and Richard and his new squad members are now part of XCOM. That's 6 new soldiers. I'm not going to go out of my way and recruit 36 soldiers to have all the squads ready to go at the beginning. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do that anyway because they only give us a certain amount. But that's pretty much how I'm going to do it. But like I said, I am going to double edge this. Every benefit I get, I'm going to take away from it with a very high cost, well, not so much high cost, but a high risk. But I'll explain that in a little bit. But it has to do with more I&I edits. I'll get more into that a little bit. Let's get back to the mod talk, though, because I do have a few more mods to talk about. So the next one is more on the mechanical side of things, and I can't really do that with Mike here. Let's see, Specialist, for example. Let's go ahead and, put someone in here. Let's go ahead and load another soldier from the character pool. Let's say I want Adam. Let's get Adam in here. Hope I'm spelling your name right, Adam. If not, apologies in advance. Alright, so there's Adam right there. Looks pretty nice and all. But let's say I didn't want him using assault rifle. Let's give him a little bit of variety. And that's unfortunate, but that's how XCOM was always. But, I have the SMG Pack, which allows me to use SMG weapons. The SMG Pack was by Long War Studios and one of the first mods released for XCOM 2, and I really like the idea of the SMG Pack because it does give a little more variety in weapons for certain soldiers. So, for example, the SMG style weapons offer bonus mobility and close quarters accuracy and concealment relative to the assault rifles. So as you can see, it gives a +3 mobility compared to just the standard 12 from an assault rifle. It gives more of a concealment bonus and accuracy when up close. But the trade-off is they do less damage, have less ammo, and suffer accuracy penalties at long range. that's kind of along my ideas of how I would love to have a, a balanced game. Like, it gives you something, but there's a catch. That's what I like about that. So SMG Pack is pretty self-explanatory. Another mod that I have is called the non-tile snapping grenades. This should be pretty self-explanatory. Anybody who's played the XCOM games always has that moment where they're using a grenade or a rocket launcher or something of the sort, and they're just trying to position it just right so that you can hit all the enemies in the radius. And that can be very annoying because in XCOM 2, from what Rick's told me, there's tile snapping. So your cursor will just snap onto a tile, making it very hard to hunt the magical pixel that will give you the radius to hit all the enemies in the alien pod. So the mod, like I said, is pretty self-explanatory. It just gives you the option so that it's a little more easier to do pixel hunting to get that right spot to land that grenade. The next one I can't actually show you. Some of these mods, like I said, have been recommended to me by some of you, Mike, some of the other viewers. If I'm forgetting your name, I'm sorry, but you know who you are. Rick, for example, recommended this one to me. It's called the armor utility slots. Now, Rick is a lot further on in the campaign than I am, and I don't want to spoil the game for myself, so he's gave me the bare minimum of the info. So some of the more advanced armor in XCOM 2 have utility slots, and what that means is we don't really have the tactical rigging upgrade that we had in XCOM Enemy Within, where you just, you had a extra slot once you upgraded for all your soldiers. From what Rick's told me, certain armors, more advanced armors, have limitations. For example, like when you upgrade to the next tier of armor after Kevlar armor, it's called the what's it called? Plated armor, I believe. Yeah, plated armor. And the plated armor comes with 2 utility slots, but it has 2 branching paths for advanced modeled armors, and that is called the EXO or exo suit and the spider suit, which is essentially the skeleton suit from Enemy Within and Enemy Unknown. From what Rick's told me, though, those 2 armors, however, only have 1 utility slot, and that's kind of based on the fact that the exosuit has a heavy weapon slot which you can use for heavy weapons, and the spider suit has the grappling hook, and so on and so forth with the more advanced armors. So basically the next tier armor that's standard will get the 2 utility slots, but the 2 advanced ones will only have 1 because it has other subsystems. I understand where they were going with it. Obviously, you don't want to make one armor too overpowered. You want to have, you got to make choices with your soldiers. Like, I'd rather have the soldier having 2 utility items, like 2 med kits and a grenade, like a med kit and a grenade or something. Or maybe I only want this one to have grenades and make them a dedicated explosives demolition soldier. And, I understand that. But at the same time, these are more advanced models of armors. They're supposed to build up from the base level armor that you upgrade to. And you're telling me we don't have the resources to strap on an extra item for utility. Do we not have belts? Do we not have tactical vests? Tactical pouches? So it just makes plain sense to me to have the armor utility slots. And from what Rick says, though, it doesn't terribly unbalance things, but it does give you a slight advantage. So obviously I'll get into more of how we're gonna fight that advantage later on. So that's pretty much armor utility slots right there. Now the next set of mods is actually not dealing with the not directly dealing with the soldiers, but they are dealing with the build facilities here. Let me go ahead and zoom in on that better.
Just give me a word and I'll get started.
Also, this is an example of what I was talking about.
On board the Avenger, Commander, but we'll need more engineers to clear out space for construction first.
Thank you, Shen. Anyway, so this is what I was talking about earlier with the performance issues for XCOM 2, and it's not nearly as bad as this on my computer, but I still notice it, and it detracts from my immersion. So I want to be able to, run it a lot better on my new rig. Anyway, so facility-wise, there's a few facility mods that I did download, and this is called Engineer to Scientist mod, and I actually had this recommended to me by Chad. who you may know as Flying Ordot in some of my videos, and he basically said like it makes more sense to have this mod for these reasons. What it basically does is for certain facilities called the Advanced Warfare Center, AWC, and the Psi Labs, it replaces the engineer that you can staff in those facilities with a scientist. And, you know, from what Rick and Chad has told me, scientists are pretty much useless. All you can do really with them is the more you have of them, the faster your research speed, and eventually when you have a laboratory facility built, you can staff scientists in there to increase research speed. That's about it. But with the engineer to scientist, though, it replaces the engineer slot with a scientist slot for the AWC and the Psi Labs, so you can put your scientist in for the AWC or the Psi Labs, and, you know, instead of an engineer, where the engineer can go off and do other things like clear more debris or build another facility or something along those lines. Plus, this also makes more sense to me. I mean, you can argue, yes, the engineers are staffed in the AWC or the Psi Labs to monitor the equipment, make sure everything's running properly, nothing's going wrong. But it makes even more sense to me that a scientist would be assigned to those facilities, because the AWC, for all intents and purposes, is a med bay, and the Psi Labs is a lot more scientific in its field, and I feel like the scientist would be more apt for being housed in that, well, not housed, but staffed in that facility. It makes more sense to me. Having engineers being able to do something else, though, that is a pretty huge advantage. So once again, we'll have to up the ante for dealing with it and making the game a little balanced. The other mod that I have is called the Leader Pack. This is a GTS upgrade, the Guerrilla Tactics School. So the Leader Pack was also by Long War Studios, and what it does, it allows a upgrade for the GTS to be you can upgrade a portion of the GTS to have a leader squad training, or squad leader training, I should say. And this works in hand with how I do my XCOM 2 squads. If anybody's played the XCOM Long War mod, you all are relatively, I would hope so, that you would be familiar with the officer system within Long War. Leader Pack is pretty much the same in general. You train up a certain soldier to have certain perks as a officer. And the downside to the Leader Pack, though, is like once you've trained a leader, you can't have multiple leaders on the same squad. So, you know, you can only have one per squad, basically. But according to the details, there are certain missions that doesn't count. So I'm guessing something along the lines of, like, you know, an assault mission, kind of like what Long War did, where they provided you like 10 soldiers instead of like 8. But, you know, I love the idea of having that. It fits really well with the whole squad leader ideal that I have for the squads already, and, you know, it feels like it fits and belongs. And the last mod for the facility stuff is called Chooseable AWC Perks. Now, Rick suggested this to me because, once again, he's further on in the game. He knows a lot more than I do, despite my own research for the Overwatch series and all my knowledges of the facility. So, like, if I'm looking at this right now, I'm kind of like planning out where is the facility's best place. Like, for example, this alien debris room. This would probably be a great place to have a workshop, because I can staff an engineer there, and then I can have workshop gremlins go out and staff the adjacent 4 rooms. So that's pretty much what I'm doing. I'm like looking at these exposed power coils. Like, these are basically steam vents, so I might as well build power generators there, power generator here, power generator there. And I'm basically just planning things out. But according to Rick, though, with the AWC, once you build the AWC, it activates a rolling system, basically, for all your current soldiers in your barracks. So let's say you have roughly 10 soldiers in your barracks, and then you finish the AWC. All of those soldiers will now roll for a chance to get a extra ability that comes from outside of their tree. Like, a sharpshooter could gain a skill from the ranger tree. A ranger can gain something from the sharpshooter tree, vice versa, and along with the other classes. And the permutations are there are quite a lot of permutations available here. But according to the vanilla version, basically, if your soldier does roll and does not get the correct number, then that's it. He doesn't get an ability forever. It's like, you had your one chance, that's it. With the Chooseable AWC perks, though, it allows everybody to have a chance at it, much more fair chance at it, as well as the choice of choosing which AWC perk you would like to have on that soldier. So, from what Rick's told me, he had used another mod called Retroactive AWC, which is pretty much the same thing as this, but without choosing the perk. But basically, it just guaranteed him to have some chance at the hidden ability, but you didn't get to choose it, so you could get something completely random. So, for example, he told me he had a sharpshooter who got Phantom, and because of that, even though he puts his sharpshooter in Overwatch preparing for an ambush, because he has Phantom, the sharpshooter doesn't take his shot at all because he's gonna remain hidden by the enemy unless he was spotted in the first place, or if the sharpshooter was initiating the ambush by shooting first, which defeats the purpose of having Phantom in the first place. And, you know, that leads me to believe that there are certain abilities like just do not work well at all with certain classes, and having the choice, being able to choose the perk, is a very huge thing. It's a huge advantage, but can lead to so many more synergies. Like, you can custom build maybe you can have a gunslinger with like the fan fire ability, you know, shoot at a bunch of targets, but he has a hidden ability with hollow targeting. Now he's hollow targeted everything. That is amazing. And I mean, yeah, that's a huge advantage. Like I said, it takes away from the randomness, but it gives you a little more of the control. But this is pretty much where we step into the whole, let's make this a little unfair. Not in terms of for us, but against us. So, moving on to a couple of other mods. I only have one other mod right now in this regard, but I am looking at a few other ones. The first mod for this is called the Muton Centurion Alien Pack. The third mod that was created by Long War Studios for XCOM 2. Basically, it adds a here we go with the talking again.
The food, the warm beds.
Alright, let me go into the hologlobe.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
There we go.
Probably had a pretty nice lab set up for you. Don't worry. I'm sure the commander
They're still
will find
talking.
something nice for you.
Commander, one of our resistance contacts just tipped us off to a site that may be worth investigating.
Welcome to the interruption hour. Anyway. So, like I said, the Muton Centurion Alien Pack. It adds a more difficult version of the Muton into the mid to late game. Is that right, Rick? Yeah, okay. So, it adds a higher tier Muton. It's basically a squad leader alien unit, and it buffs up its allies with giving them bonuses to aim, mobility, and whatnot. So it's very nice to have something like that because it adds like a random element. Like, we're gonna have a randomly strong enemy just out of nowhere, and then my squad has to deal with it in conjunction with all of its little cronies. Fighting mutons by itself was annoying. Having a muton like squad leader, that's even more annoying, and you have to think about that. And that's one of the ways I'm thinking of, kind of tipping the scales to balance out a little more, because I am giving myself an advantage by having, recruits cost 0 supplies. I have the non-tile snapping grenades for magical pixel hunting. We got the armor utility slots. We got the engineers to scientists. We got the Chooseable AWC perks. We got the leader pack. And, that's a lot of advantages, but let's skew things a little more favor for aliens and Advent here. I've gone into the INI files, like I mentioned before, and I've edited the enemy stats. So the enemies will have higher accuracy, have a higher chance to crit our soldiers, and have a slight faster mobility, just 1 or 2 tiles worth of extra mobility. So I'm basically making them faster and more deadlier. There is another mod called the More Enemy Squads mod. I'm thinking of adding that, but I will probably have to wait on that to see how hard the current existing enemy squads will be with my new INI edits. And judging by the look that Rick's giving me, as well as how he's flipping me off, the INI files that I edited have been pretty hard on him. Rick, how many soldiers do you have in critical condition now? I don't know if you guys heard that, but he's lost 3 soldiers on a moderate mission. Is it moderate? No, difficult. Just difficult mission. He lost 3 soldiers on a difficult mission. They were all wearing like 3rd tier armor, and the rest of the squad was gravely wounded for another 15 days. Oh, that's harsh. I mean, that might be grounds enough for me to balance out the game right there. I mean, yeah, I have recruits and all that, but if the enemy is going to be putting you down pretty hard like that and killing off your soldiers, well, I mean, then I might have balanced the game well enough, or maybe even made the enemy even stronger than it's supposed to. I am going to be playing this on the commander difficulty, but because of the INI edits, I'm pretty sure I've kind of steered the enemy difficulty towards somewhere in between commander and legend, so it's kind of like an intermediary step. But other than that though, I think between all these advantages and these mods in regards to customization for the soldiers and for the squads, I think that I've balanced it well enough. Let me know what you guys think. If there's suggestions on like what mods you would think I would like to see, go ahead and suggest them. Try to stay away from overpowered mods. Like a couple of you suggested this one mod, it's like a sword mod, but basically the sword was just overpowered. It was basically a cheat weapon. It did like 50 damage or whatever or something like that, and it's like I don't want to do that. I don't want to run around with a squad of 6 rangers being able to do like 50 damage and one-shotting everything. That's not fun. I want to challenge myself here. At the same time though, I mean, it makes me more wary because I don't want to lose anybody, because you know, you guys are the viewers, and it would be heartbreaking for me to, you know, have somebody killed because I made a stupid mistake or I misclicked on something. That would be horrific. Alright, anyway, I think the video has been going on long enough. I think this is way longer than a mod talk should be, but, you know, I've been getting really into detail and explaining my INI edits. Once again, though, to highlight all of this, always make sure if you're going to be messing around with the INI files, make a backup. If you're going to be installing mods, make sure you have a save clean at the ready, just in case. You never know if something's going to go wrong. That's going to be it for this mod talk video. Hopefully I'll be able to start recording again on my new rig. It'll probably take another week and a half or so, and you guys will be seeing this video on the 18th, so that's tomorrow. So this is the latest video I've been able to record. So until then though, you'll be watching things that I've had on backlog for quite a little while. But hopefully by the 25th and the 26th, I will have my new rig ready to go with all my programs and recording software, and I should be able to get back into business by then, and hopefully with better quality. Anyway, so that's pretty much it for this mod talk video as it is. I might make XCOM 2 mod talking a thing, if it becomes a thing, if there's enough mods for it, but we'll have to see. Anyway, that's going to be it. Remember to rate, comment, and subscribe for more. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.